Alright, so in this video, I'm going to share with you three really powerful transformational principles that when you install them in your mind, when you put them in your mental programming, you will be able to achieve things a lot faster and easier than you could before, and you will be able to have much more peace of mind and focus and clarity throughout the whole process. Now, one thing we face in the year 2011 and onwards is a never-ending stream of things that can consume and take our attention and our energy. This could be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Gmail, text messages, voicemails, cell phones, people, places, things, iPads, iPhones, iPods. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So we're faced with a huge abundance of information and of stimuli that are coming at us all the time. And this is not going to diminish, it's not going to go away, and it's not something we're really going to be able to get away from. So we have to ask ourselves, how can we navigate this effectively, not waste our time, and actually achieve what we want and have the life and the experiences that we want. So the first principle, and the most important principle, is for us to clearly define what we're looking for and what we're after and why. Because we can't hit a target that we can't see. I mean, if you're going to be at a shooting range or shooting a bow and arrow and you can't see the target, you don't know where to aim, and you're never going to hit it. You might be able to try a million different things and maybe eventually get to the target, but to save yourself that whole struggle and all that wasted time and energy, all you need to do is sit down for 5 minutes and with a piece of paper and figure out what you want. Figure out objectives, figure out goals, figure out at least some sort of direction for you to move in. It doesn't have to be insanely specific at first, but just something to get you going. So to recap, you need to clearly define what you want, what you're after, and why. Because you can't hit a target that you can't see. The next and another important thing along with that is what's called the 80-20 principle. And this has been proven. It's a pretty legitimate scientific theory, and it's a pretty legitimate theory that you can apply across the board. And basically what that says is 80% of the results will come from 20% of the effort. So how this can help us is that once we have our objective, which is step one, we can figure out, okay, well, what are the 3 to 5 things, or maybe just the 1 or 2 things that I can do to create these 80% of results. And when we have these 2 things, we're already going to be much more effective than we were before, and we're going to be much more clear and focused and be able to hit our target much more accurately and much more efficiently. Now the next thing, the next principle, is basically the difference between being efficient and being effective. These are 2 entirely different things. Now, for example, I'm really good at keeping my email organized, for example. We're really good at keeping my iTunes library organized. But is that really helping me achieve my goals? Is that really helping me achieve my objectives that are going to make me happy? No, not really. So if my goal is to have more free time to play guitar or to increase my income by X amount, I need to sit down and say, okay, well, I'm spending a lot of time on this activity, and I might be efficient, I might be really good at it, I might be really good at doing it, but am I really being effective? Is it really moving me towards my goals? And that's something we need to keep in mind and refer back to our list where we wrote down our objectives and why we were focusing on them. So now when we're at the point of taking action, doing things, looking at our daily life, we can determine whether or not our actions are actually being effective, or they're just efficient, or they're just kind of wasting time. Because on that same note, doing something unimportant well doesn't make it important. So for example, being really good at keeping your voicemail clean or your text messages organized or all these things, doesn't make it important because you're good at it. And there's lots of other things, you might be really good at multitasking on the computer and looking at 20 different windows and reading a bunch of different things, listening to something, talking to something, all these things at once. You might be really good at it, might be really efficient at doing it, but it doesn't mean that you're being effective and you're achieving your goals, and it doesn't mean that task is actually important in relation to the objectives which you've predefined. So all of these things taken into account and put together produce a framework, a mental framework for us to use to look at our lives and sort through all of the things that are sucking up our time and energy. So one thing that we could do to apply this right now is to just look at what we're doing throughout the day and think back and refer to our objectives that we've defined and find out whether or not this task is actually supporting and helping us move towards our objective, or if it's just wasting our time, or if it's helping us move towards an objective that we don't want. And are we just doing it because we think we're good at it, or because we're bored, or because we feel like we should be busy, or because we feel like it's important but it's really not? All these things we need to think about and take into context. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It could just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But that little 5 or 10 minutes of work will be that 20% that can create 80% of changes and results. Just a little bit of mental prep work can change your focus, change your direction, so that the results that you manifest and the things you create can actually be more of what you want. And you can use this to cut out a lot of garbage from your life, cut out a lot of noise in your life, give yourself more time, give yourself more free time, give yourself much more clarity as to what you're actually doing. Because there's a direct result, there's a direct correlation between what you're spending your time doing every single day and the results that you're creating. Likewise, if I have a goal of, being good at guitar, or wanting to learn the song on guitar, but I don't ever practice, I don't ever play, then obviously where I'm pointing my direction, what I'm putting my attention into, is not actually going to manifest the result. And oftentimes we do this. We think, I really want this thing, but we don't actually spend any time on actions that will create that result. So I encourage you, I challenge you to use this framework, to apply it, to install it, and it will allow you to have a lot, and honestly just a better life. I can't really say it any way other than that, because this stuff works. I've used it and it's really helped me a lot. Have more free time, have more peace of mind, have more focus and clarity, and get rid of that sense of overwhelm and constant stimulation that we are so susceptible to these days in this modern, technological age. So hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully, most importantly, you apply the information, you use it right now, and if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I will talk to you soon.